Okay, cardiac emergencies. So, our objectives today are the cardiac links for the chain of survival. See signs of heart attack, cardiac arrest. All right, cardiac arrest is definitely different than heart attack. So the signs are different. We'll look for care for a victim of a heart attack, cardiac arrest, and your role in CPR. Two of the most common cardiac emergencies: heart attack and cardiac arrest. Heart attack and cardiac arrest. Yeah, this is the biggest packet you get. It's got a ton of information.
Oh my God. 79 pages.
There's a ton of information that goes into this.
81.
Plus there's projects in it and stuff like that. There's a couple projects in there.
It's just
A heart attack comes from blood and oxygen supply getting reduced in its travels through your body. Reduced. Not completely cut off, but reduced. A lot of people don't realize that they're having a heart attack. They don't understand the signs. They don't know how to respond because they don't understand the signs. So from that perspective, a lot of people disregard them. That leads to an increased risk of cardiac arrest. Signs of a heart attack. Chest pain that comes and goes, and it lasts anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. That chest pain can become consistent though. It can come and stay there. It's not going to be like any other chest pain. If you've run and you haven't run for a long time, or you're training or whatever, and you get that pain around your heart, yeah, that's one thing. That's being out of shape. This chest pain is more in the center of your chest, right near your sternum. Okay, your sternum is located right here. That's why when we give compressions, we go ahead and lock our hands up, put them on this, right above the sternum to give our compressions. And we'll get into that more tomorrow when I teach you CPR. The pressure can be a squeezing feeling, tightness, aching. It can start out as something very mild. I read a story about a cardiologist who's obviously a heart doctor who was away on business, and he had this uncomfortable feeling that he was dealing with consistently. But being a cardiologist, you'd think, hey, he would know that he's having signs of a heart attack. And a heart attack obviously is when your heart goes erratic in terms of the electrical impulses it gives off. Well, he's having these signs, but he doesn't think it's heart related. He's tired from traveling, he thinks, and his body just hasn't adjusted. You know, he's all out of sync. And he goes home, and this stuff is persisting the next day into the next morning. And he goes to a fellow cardiologist, and they're like, you know, what are you doing? You're a cardiologist. You've been having a heart attack for over 24 hours, having all these signs, and you've done nothing about it. So, you know, it can be a little odd from that perspective. There are some people, though, they don't show any pain, they don't get any pressure, you know, they might not have anything in the chest, they might have it down their left arm because that's the side of your body where your heart is. They might have some back pain, something like that, trouble breathing, their skin can change colors and temperatures, all right? I mean, it's different for everybody. It really is. In women, there are a few signs that are unique as opposed to with men. One of the ones I like to point out clearly is unexplained fatigue. You could be going along having a great day, and all of a sudden you become extremely exhausted. And you haven't done anything that is accentuating in terms of you putting effort out. Now, along with that, you have to look at any other sign that might come with it. A sudden sharp pain that you feel in your chest, or have back or jaw pain. Yeah, you've got to be concerned, ladies, if something like that happens. The other thing with heart-related disease, and I talked about this in first period, is you don't need to be somebody who's completely out of shape. You don't need to be somebody who's an extremely poor eating person, or somebody who doesn't ever exercise for this to occur to you. It could be genetics in your family. I had a guy who coached football with me at Rockville, and the guy played football for Maryland, went on to play in the NFL for about 5 years. And he played in the late 70s. He's about 60 years old, but he took care of himself still. Went to the gym 5 days a week, ate, portion control. He prided himself on the way he lived his life in terms of taking care of himself. And he woke up one morning, was getting ready for work, and felt odd. So he had the luxury of his job where he could have breakfast with his wife in the mornings, and he sat down and he said, I just don't feel right today. I must be under the weather, allergy. He didn't know what it was, but he didn't feel like he was having a heart attack. His wife says, well, we're going to go to the doctors anyway. So she takes him to the doctors, and he was having a heart attack. And he just couldn't understand how this could happen to him, because he took such good care of himself. He had always done that. He didn't really drink alcohol very much or anything like that. So all the factors that go into play with this stuff, he had taken off the table, but sometimes it's just your genes, and that's the way they react. Just important to understand that. If you have heart disease in your family, you've got to take care of yourself. It could be something that you acquire down the road. All right, angina. It seems like it's a heart attack, but the pain comes and goes at different times. It doesn't last 3 to 5 minutes, but it feels like it could be a heart attack. They give you medication, a nitroglycerin tab that will shock your heart back into the correct beating. But the initial time that it happens, when you think you're actually having a heart attack, you go to the hospital and they figure that out for you. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm not having a heart attack, I just have angina. Let me go ahead and go. No. If that pain from angina that you're diagnosed with, though, lasts more than... Why is it called that? Huh?
Why is it called that?
Angina?
Yeah.
It's irregular functioning of the heart. If it lasts more than 3 to 5 minutes, you've got to be concerned, and you should call 911. We don't place a lot of emphasis on teaching that to you, but understand that when we do our heart project, normally somebody takes that on and talks about that in their project. Cardiac arrest. Your heart stops. You'll learn that when we talk about a respiratory, that we'll talk about arrest in there as well, which means to stop. It's usually caused by cardiovascular disease. If you don't take care of it right away, it can become fatal. Oftentimes it doesn't. Oftentimes it does. I can tell you, a story that still bothers me to this day. When I was a young kid, my dad's best friend, his sister lived 2 doors up from him. And every Sunday he would go to church with his sister. And they were going to church one Sunday morning, and he told his sister he didn't feel right. Something was off. This is usually, the stories all start this way because your body just doesn't feel right. When you have allergies, when you have a cold, stuff like that. But when you're having something like this, you just don't feel right. Something feels off. So they're driving down the street, and he says, I don't feel right. I'm going to pull over for a minute. He pulls over, rolls his head back, has massive cardiac arrest, and dies right there. Never really was diagnosed with any sort of heart issues at all. He was like 60.
In his sister's car?
Pardon me?
In his sister's car?
In his car.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. He had a family and lived like at the corner of the street, and his sister lived a few doors up, and she was, she was single. So he used to take her to church every Sunday. But, you know, good thing he felt this and he pulled himself over because he just, that was it. I had another buddy, his dad was driving. His dad didn't take care of himself at all, but his dad was driving and had cardiac arrest, drove over a hill. You know, he was driving a car. Didn't know what to do. You know, obviously, it just came on, boom. It's sudden. It just happens. And that's it. That's what you're, realistically, you're learning CPR and how to use an AED to help somebody who goes into cardiac arrest. Because somebody who's having a heart attack is having irregular heartbeats. Irregular things are going on with the heart. Doesn't necessarily mean their heart stops. Okay, so a person in cardiac arrest is unconscious and not breathing. When we look, listen, and feel, that's what's occurring. Their skin changes color, and their skin changes temperature. Why would we be sweating if we're going into cardiac arrest? What happens to your body when you sweat? What's your body trying to do when it's sweating? Cool down, right. So your body's going all crazy and it's going erratic, and you start sweating because your body's trying to cool down and get itself back together. And the lack of your heart properly functioning doesn't let that happen. Okay, so the cardiac chain of survival. This is on page 2 in your new packet. Here's your answers for it, and I have a video clip for you. Early 911, early CPR, early AED, and early EMT or EMS. The bottom line with the cardiac chain of survival is you starting it as soon as you realize that there's an emergency that's happened. Okay? You're the first link. Oh my God, this person's gone ill. Let me get somebody on the phone and get emergency help here. And then you take it from there. Here's your rule of thumb. And this is the last note on this page. And then we can go ahead and watch the video clip. The rule of thumb is this. Do not drive anybody to the hospital who's complaining of having signs of a heart attack. Or somebody who went into cardiac arrest. Don't do it. Call 911. Just don't do it. Okay? And I know I talked about this before in something else early on that I was teaching, but you just don't do it. You need me to go back? Okay. This is an awesome
So,
clip.
assessing the situation. Are they breathing?
No, Rose, they are not moving. And they have no arms or legs.
No, that's not part of it.
Where are they? You know what? If we come across somebody with no arms or legs, do we bother resuscitating? I mean, what kind of quality of life do we have there?
I wouldn't want to live with no legs.
How about no arms? No arms or legs is basically how you exist right now, Kevin. You don't do that.
Well, let's get back to it, because you're losing it. Okay, too fast. Everyone, we need to pump at a pace of 100 beats per minute.
Okay, that's hard to keep track. How many is that per hour?
How's that gonna help you?
I will divide and then count to it.
Okay, well, a good trick is to pump to the tune of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. Do you know that song?
Yes, I do. I love that song. First I was afraid, I was petrified.
No, it's Staying Alive,
That's
Staying
it.
Alive.
You were in the parking lot earlier, that's how I know you.
Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive.
You can't tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman man, no time to talk. Words it loud, women warm. They kicked around since I was born. Well, it's alright, it's okay. You can look the other way. Look,
Yeah, okay, you didn't maintain 100 beats per minute, and the ambulance didn't arrive because nobody called 911, so you lost him.
Okay, he's dead. Anyone know what we do next? Anybody? Rose?
I have no idea.
Anyone else?
We bury him.
Wrong. Check for an organ donor card. If he has one, we only have minutes to harvest.
He has no wallet, I checked.
He is an organ donor. He is. Give me some ice in the styrofoam bucket. Here we go. We search for the organs. Where's the heart? Precious heart.
I'm not feeling well. I need to sit down.
First, please. Are you okay?
Tell me why you had to cut the face off the dummy.
I didn't think it was very realistic in the movie, and it turns out it's pretty realistic.
You had to pay for it. It cost us $3,500.
$5,300 for a dummy? Wow. Okay, look, David, this is why we have training. We start with the dummy and learn from our mistakes, and now Dwight knows not to cut the face off of a real person.
Okay. So let's move on to the real clip that you need to see.
I'm Rich Fellner.
I'm Brenda Beasley. My name is Cherie Brackett.
My name is Thomas Beasley.
First symptom was severe indigestion, which was not fixed by an antacid.
First thing was the chest pain. I noticed that almost immediately. It was very uncomfortable. Felt like somebody was standing on my chest.
Seemed like it was getting tighter, like a fist was in there. It was like something was just crushing it.
Then came profuse sweating just out of nowhere.
Pain radiated right up into my jaw, and then down into my arm and fingertips.
And all of a sudden you can't breathe and you start sweating and your chest starts hurting. Something's wrong.
Then a sense of doom that the whole world was coming to an end.
I was very scared. I decided that it was time to tell my wife. It was time to go to the hospital and, see if it was in fact what I feared, which was a heart attack.
I told my wife, I said, I had never felt this way, and I was serious when I told her this too. I said, it's time to go. She probably looked at my face and said, he's not playing.
Sweating, he was sweating, and things that he never did before that made me know something was wrong.
It's important to know what to do when someone that you love becomes very sweaty and has chest pain.
It can happen to anybody. It can happen overnight. It can happen in the blink of an eye. I'm just very glad to be here telling the story, and I knew what to look for.
Sometimes I get a little emotional when I talk about it. It's not usually a tear drop out of my eye, because this was real serious.
So I immediately got help. I went to someone at the front of the store and asked them to call 911 for me. And within 15 minutes, I was in the hospital emergency room.
We'll finish with this tomorrow, guys. Have a great day.